Don Green, you are the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And of course, for listeners who may not know, Napoleon Hill is the author of the book Think and Grow Rich, which is one of the top-selling self-help books of all time. Don, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure, and I appreciate you giving me this time. You know, if you talk to me or you know me, I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a little over 20 years, and I'll be 80 years old my birthday. I do not have to be doing this. I was a bank president for over 18 years and had lots of businesses I could have, did not need to work, but this is a chance to do good, send a lot of kids to scholarship, and we have done absolutely amazing in the 20 years.
Well, you know, Don, most people who have reached financial independence, they continue working, but they don't work anymore because of the money. They work because they are passionate about the thing that they are doing. I'm sure if you wanted to just sit at home and watch TV shows and drink beer all day long, you have the means to do that. But you decided to get out there, go to your office and contribute and share the knowledge that you have accumulated throughout the years with young kids, with everyone who has a desire to improve their life.
Absolutely. I love what I do. And I tell everybody, I got the best job in the world, CEO of Napoleon Hill Foundation. And some people would probably like to know, how did you get this job? I'm in a town so small, we have 3 red lights, probably 2 of them we don't need. And I was a bank president, and I contacted the foundation, told them I'd read the books and what I'd done. I was getting a class started at the University of Virginia, and they invited me to come to Chicago and have dinner with the board of trustees. And when I did, Mr. W. Clement Stone, a billionaire, he said, "You know more about these books than we do." He said, "You ought to be a board member." And I said, "What do I need to do, Mr. Stone?" He said, "Attend the meetings." So when I was approaching age 60, we had a chance to sell the bank and make a lot of money. We sold the bank, and then the other CEO of the Napoleon Hill Foundation was old, and he was in bad health and wanted to retire, and he'd been the only CEO that they had. And so I took over and I moved the foundation from Chicago, or a suburb, to Wise, Virginia. This is Napoleon Hill's hometown. So I developed a saying is, sometimes your ship don't come in, but who said you can't swim out to where the ship is?
Exactly.
And you talk about sitting at home and watching TV. I founded a cable company when I was in the banking business, and my wife said, "I can't believe what you're doing." I said, "Why?" "You don't watch television." I said, "But the average person watches 6 hours a day." I don't watch television. A lot of days mine's never even cut on because I'm writing a book, another book, I'm reading some books. I read 3 or 4 books a week at least, and have done that for years and years. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm sending lots and lots and lots of kids to school. And that's the reason we do what we do.
I was reading the book Napoleon Hill, My Mentor, Timeless Principle to Take Your Success to the Next Level. And there you are telling the story of when you were working as a dry cleaner and you were just offering value to people. And sometimes you wash and dry clean the Boy Scouts clothes for free. And you were constantly just giving out to the community. And that's one of the things that made your business a success. Can you tell us a little bit more about that time of your life?
Well, the dry cleaner business was just one of the many businesses I had. The dry cleaning business, I wore a suit every day, every day. If you come in the bank, I didn't have a sport coat and tie on. I had a suit. I owned about 30 suits. I remember the first suit I bought, I was probably making about $75 a week, and I wanted to dress a little better. So I went into a store called Sobel's, run by Jews. I would ask, where does executives in this town, where do they get their clothes? And Sobel's. And so I went in there and I got a suit measured, and I paid $10 a month on it till I paid for it. And they had a sign behind the cash register. It said, if you are going to be a success, you must first dress the part. So nobody come in the bank. If they did not know, they could look who was in the bank. They would know who the president of the bank was, because, as I said, we don't dress for ourselves, we dress for others. And that's one of the lessons I taught. It's material, I taught it 12 times as a 3-year course. Simply keys to success. Why are some people successful and others not? One of the things he covered was dress. Once I had the little girl say, well, Mr. Green, if you know what you're doing, it shouldn't matter what kind of clothes you got on. I said, well, let me ask you something another. I said, just say you're at the college that you've been watching this boy's quarterback on the football team, and boy, you would give anything to date him. Now, if he calls you, are you going to dress up? She said, sure I will. Said, because I want to make a good impression on him. I said, why would you not want to impress a bank president when you're looking for a job? And she said, I got it. Okay, I got it. But it said, don't seem fair. I said, listen, we don't deal with the reality of what we interpret as fair. We deal with reality. It's a fact that people treat you better. You go into a restaurant or in a place of business, if you're dressed for the occasion, you dress for them. And she said, well, yeah, I could see that, but it just don't seem fair. I said, well, that's another lesson. We deal with reality, not what we interpret. I said, he did a study I read out in California, one of the universities. They recorded a primary school teacher, didn't know she was being recorded. It was shown that she definitely treated the kids that were dressed better than she did the other kids. Yeah, that's not fair, but that's reality. And same way with people doing favors for you. If I was in the dry cleaners, I was one Saturday, the kids from the band came in, and I told them, we're going to clean your band uniforms and we're not going to charge you. You're not? No, we're not going to charge you. And the kids in the high school, you can tell them they can bring their uniforms down here and we'll clean them for free. So when she left, the lady was a manager for me. She said, we're going to go broke. I said, oh no, Juanita, we're not going to go broke. My partner and I, you don't think we don't have money? I said, you ever miss getting a paycheck, and we pay you a lot more than you was paid on the other job? Well, I just don't understand it. Said a lot of them kids parents probably don't even use us. I said, they may not, but this gives them a good opportunity to. And I said, that's the reason. And there was another occasion I was there, and on a Saturday, it's the only time I could go in other than just stopping by. The bank wasn't open on a Saturday. Some lady comes in and brings some clothes in pretty early in the morning and says, we've had a death in the family. Could we get those back this afternoon? And Juanita says, yes, you can. And so when she left, I said, Juanita, this lady will be back this afternoon, and just tell her that we're sorry of the death of her family, but we're not going to charge her. She said, I don't even think they're customers. I said, they will be. And we never spent a nickel advertising, never put an ad in the paper. We charged more than the other 3 cleaners did. We didn't give coupons, but we give one-day service, and we did favors for people. And when I built it, I did a drive-in. The ladies could go through, they could hand their clothes off, they could leave the kid in the car, and they didn't have to take them out of the car seat and lug them into the store. And I said, I read a book. I spent $39.95 for a little book I ordered off one of the magazines, and it was on how to run a successful dry cleaners. One of the things they stressed was give each person individual attention. So the first time you come in there, I would ask you your business, and I would give you a laundry bag, and we would put your name on it. This is a businessman. He likes his shirts folded, lightly starched, or ever how. And so each time they drop the clothes off, then the people in working, they knew how to prepare them. Some people don't want no starch. Some people want heavy starch, some light starch. But we also put them in a bag, and it had the word "The Cleaners." That was the name of our business. So if the wife told the husband, "Would you drop this off at the Cleaners?" That was us. We was the cleaners, and they drop their dirty clothes off on that bag. It has their name. They don't have to say nothing. They just drop the thing off. It already tells them on that tag that was on the bag. Then we did their clothes. When we give their clothes back to them, we also laundered the bag that they come in, so we could give them a clean bag back, and we clipped that to the order on it. So if they went through the drive-in or come in to get them, they got their clothes on hangers and they got their laundry bag back. So it only makes sense if we've given them a laundry bag that they would bring it back to us with their dirty clothes. I mean, the business was absolutely terrific, and we had it, I don't even know, 12, 14 years or something, and we'd still be down there today, except Walmart needed the land. It was interest to the land they had, and other than the fact is we got 2 million bucks out of it, we'd still been there today. But it was just one of the many things is that you can do to sell yourself. One of Hill's books in '39 was How to Sell Yourself to Others. And the only way we make money is sell, okay? You cannot make no money any other way legally. You got to sell. You sell your services. I don't care if you write books or you sing, dance, tell jokes. If you can sell your services that somebody likes it good enough to pay, or you sell a product, hula hoops, hammers, or something you've made or whatever, but you've got something to sell that someone's willing to give their money up. And there is no other legitimate way you can make money except sell services or sell a product. And every day we're selling ourselves. And it's not complicated. It's not rocket science. It's just being a nice human being, wanting to treat other people, and they'll reward you for it most all the time. And when I was asked Perry's, what if they don't come back to see us? I said, that's their problem. We done our part. We give them an opportunity to come back and see us. And I think most of the time it worked. The income we generated from that business, I know it worked.
Right.
Okay. I learned that when I learned that even as a teenager when I had the little zoo. You know, if you read one of my books, I talk about the zoo I had.
Yes.
I was charging a quarter. I would see somebody stop there, and they'd been there several times. And what happened, we live in a rural area. A lot of people left the area. They went to Indiana, Kentucky, or north somewhere or another. And they come in to visit family. Well, there was not a lot to do in the area. So the people relatives that come see, they would often bring them to our Indian Mountain Reptile Garden, pay a quarter to see the snakes. And then we had a zoo. We had a little zoo. We had a bird and monkeys and exotic birds and so forth. They would bring them. So after I recognized you've been there 2 or 3 times, I said, okay, I noticed you're bringing friends here. I really appreciate that. From now on, when you bring friends here, you just come over here to my souvenir stand, tell me you brought some friends, and you can do me a favor. I won't charge you the quarter, and you can show them around for me. Well, this is people that's laborers, coal miners, what have you. The thrill, that was like putting them on stage, and give them a chance to show off and tell about the stuff and get attention, get attention. They just loved it. Because those people, when they come back out, they would buy souvenirs almost without fail. And for example, I have a little comical ashtray that cost me a quarter. I sold them for $1, okay? And what made it a $1 souvenir was I got rolls of little stickers that said Indian Mountain Reptile Garden, US 23. And you peel them off and put that on a little plate. And that made it worth from a quarter to $1. And so we made a lot more money on the souvenirs because sometimes they brought $20, $30, $40 worth of stuff to take back with them. Fact is, I still got a few of those things. Some of those items that from, let's see, that would have been 60 some years ago. I still got a couple of them in my home. It's got the little stickers on. But it was just a fun thing that you learn just a bit. It's the best marketing in the world that you don't learn in the classroom.
Right.
It's just using common sense and be good to people.
And in the book, I also read that you had a love for reading since you were a little kid, and you had even a hard time getting more than one book at a time from the library. So can you tell us more about where does that come from, that love for reading? And also, a lot of people don't read nowadays. How can we get more people to become readers?
Well, there's a sign in my office on the wall put there by my social media girl, Lana, that does my social media. And I come back from lunch one day and heard my assistant had put it up, and it says, there are only two ways to learn: being around smarter people or from books, Don Green. And I said, Lana, I love you, but I've read that in a book from basically Will Rogers. She said, well, you've said that to me 1,000 times. If it's only two ways we can learn, books and from smarter people. I said, yeah, and you'll hear me say it 1,000 times more, because if someone comes up with some way how they can learn, except through books, and I include audiobooks, and from other people, I don't know what it is. So Mark Twain said it real well. Said people that don't read, they're no better off than people that can't read. So that's, and I'd love to read. I mean, my imagination run wild as a kid. I read all these books on these successful people. And, Michelangelo said, we can set goals. It's not that we set goals as too large and we fail. It's that we set too small of goals and succeed. So I started dreaming when I was making $1.15 an hour. I knew I was going to own a gold Rolex, black Mercedes, and have $1 million in the bank. And when I was making $1.15 an hour when I got married, and I put that on my cards, and I showed it to my wife. She said, I believe you. She said, you've always done what you said. And I said, okay. Yeah, I said, a few minutes, she said, don't tell nobody. She said, you might think I'm crazy. I believe you. But said, if you tell people, they'll know you're crazy. And I said, I wasn't going to tell nobody. So later we was able to laugh about that. That's not too good of goals to have. But hey, listen, you're 20 years old, you're making $1.15 an hour, and you've already read hundreds of books, and you dream about possibilities and so forth. And I knew good as anything, that I was going to be successful. I never had no doubts that I could be successful. I wanted to be in banking, and I couldn't get in banking. So I took a job in a finance business, and I got recognized for the work I was doing. And I got a call one day from a man. I was still in finance. I had managed 4 finance offices. I had to transfer to Indiana. And, I got up then, I'm making big money. I'm up to $400 a month, okay? And I got a call from this man one day, and he said, Don, told me his name. He said, I've started a bank, and it's about a year old. It's having some trouble. And he said, your name was mentioned that you had good experience in collections and loaning money. And he said, I'd like to interview you. And I said, yeah, I would. That sounds real interesting. I said, he said, could you come over one day and interview? I told him, I said, Jim, I would have to do it on a weekend. And he said, is that right? I said, yeah, these people are real good to me. I don't want to take off a job that I've been paid. They've been paying my night schooling. They've been real good to me, and I know I'm going to keep getting promoted. But I said I wouldn't be fair to them. And he said, okay. So we made arrangement on a Saturday. And here's what he told me. This was 1975, okay, 45 years ago. He said, Don, if you do a little bit of extra on your job one day, nobody's going to notice it. He said, you do it for a week or so, probably nobody will notice it. But he said, if you keep doing a little bit more than what everybody around you is doing, one of these days you're going to be the success that the world just dreams about. That was 45 years ago, and I remember it as plain if it would have been 5 minutes ago. That guy's a mentor today. He's a donor to the foundation, and we keep up. And the people I recommend to for a job hires them. One kid took my class from Turkey, Alihan. He was looking for a job because the people he worked for sold out. He didn't want to transfer, and he had studied marketing. And I got in touch with Jim and told him about the kid. And he worked for me at the dry cleaners part-time when he was going to college. He took my class. He was in my class. And Jim said, tell him to send a resume. And he sent a resume, and I told Alihan, I said, now, Alihan, Jim likes you. He's going to make you an offer. Don't tell him you won't think about it. Believe me, just tell him you'll take the job. And he had an interview, and that night he called me, and he said, you was right. I knew you was. You was right. I said, boy, have I got a good job. And that was more than 20 years ago. He called me the other night about my new book that's coming out, and he's still there. Same job.
Wow. Amazing.
And then just recently, he's got a plane in Texas, and the guy that works for me in Indiana, Alan, he's got an MBA from Purdue. He's Chinese. His wife's Chinese, and she studied manufacturing technology at Purdue. She's got an MBA. And I was telling Jim about her because I had told Alan, you got twin kids, and you don't want to raise them in Chicago, or you want, so I told him, you can go to Texas, you can go to, I can tell you, and I said, I can get Jing a job. He said, you can. On my word, he sold his home, went to Fort Worth area, and of course he can do my work from anywhere. And Jing went for an interview. Jim hired her, and she's still working for him. He called me one day and said, this girl's she's got him. Said, I told my other people, you watch that little Chinese girl. She said, she's going to be hard to keep up with. So we established some relationships that's worth absolutely a fortune. And I would still been at the bank, but we was our 8 years. It done so well. Jim wanted to sell the bank and move on to other things. And so the bank was sold, and I worked for the new people, which is now part of Bank of America. I worked for them a year, and then I was contacted about take a job as president and CEO of a savings institution that was on the verge of being closed. And I worked there over 18 years, and I turned it around, made money the first year after they had lost their capital. They had $35,000 capital. I made $90,000 the first year, and then about somewhere between 300 and 400, and then $750,000, and then we started making more than $1 million a year. Wow. And again, it was an opportunity to sell the bank. The old trustees saw it as a chance to get their investment back and make some good money, and that was fine with me. And so I worked and I went to the new bank I went to work for a new bank, and I worked 18 years, and we sold it, and I told the new owners, it's up that time I got other stuff I like to do. I said, I'm being paid a whole lot more than you pay your other people. I said, I will turn in my notice if you'll pay me for a year, and I'll give you a letter. I won't go to work for a competitor. I got some other things I want to do. Just pay my salary for a year. Let me have my benefits, my insurance a year, and my company car for a year. And they said, okay. And I said, type up the letter. You don't need to. We'll take your word. So I drew a salary for a year from that banking job. And then I drew one from the foundation. And my wife asked me, is that fair? I said, yeah, Phil, honey, it's fair. If you would do a deal, it's good for both of you. They were willing to pay me rather than me risk going to work for another bank, because them people, it all followed me. And they would have followed me, and they would have had a bad investment without someone there, because I'd built the bank up. And so they would have followed me if I went to work for another local bank. So life has been good. We've helped lots and lots of kids go to school. We've got a professorship in his name. They weren't dealing with foreign publishers. They didn't know how to go about it. They were dealing with the Japanese because they came over and made contact. We have over 500 foreign publishers today. Wow. I believe I've already signed 5 foreign contracts today for licensing our books, and every one of them has an advance. People wire us the advances, and we have approximately 35 different publishers in China, almost 30 in Russia alone. And I mean, we published in Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Turkey, everywhere you name it, we publish our books and teach our course. And he's more popular today. He's been dead 50 years. How many authors do you know that's been dead 50 years? If you get their books, you have to go on eBay and find a used one or something like that. And his books are all still in print.
Wow.
And we still create books out of his material. For example, this is a fourth book. This is called Andrew Carnegie's Mental Dynamite. He wrote little booklets, 16 of them in 1941. And our attorney and I, we took those little 16 books, and I've got a whole stack of them back there, just little books. They average about 100 pages, and they were on each one of the principles, deafness of purpose, going extra mile, and so forth, and so forth. Give me 1 second, I'll walk in there and pick one up. I'm not sure what they look like. They were 1941, okay? So that's been 79 years ago.
Wow. Wow. Well, this is amazing. Napoleon Hill. I hope some of the listeners have read his book. It's one of the most extraordinary books on personal development. And yeah, it's one of those books that people read every year because it's got that much inspiration. So yeah, I suggest you check it out.
Here's what the little booklets look like. This one is a lesson 1, deafness of purpose, mental dynamite. See, he was giving speeches even in the 30s on mental dynamite, telling basically, and he always put someone on the back of it. If you want thoughts to become things, hold them in your mind and believe them. That's on the back of them. He had a famous quote on every one of them. And number 6 is organized individual endeavor. And that's what he made his course out of, all of these, philosophy of American achievement. And see, they're about 100 pages average each. And so we split it up into 4 books. This is the last one. It'll probably do the best of any of them, but the other 3 have done real well. In fact, I got paid today for 3 of them advances from a Chinese publisher. But we got recordings. We got recordings of speeches, TV programs. He had radio programs in Jackson, Mississippi, and Paris, Missouri, and Chicago, and WGN. He had radio programs and TV programs, and we got access to all that stuff. And so we've got about 140 some books. When I started, we had 16.
Wow.
So we put out a lot of books, and we will continue to as the demand is. And some of them we're even doing little smaller books. For example, here's a little book, Think and Grow Rich in 10 Minutes, from my friends in Sound Wisdom, that we have 40 some books with. And what this is it's a recap of Think and Grow Rich. And it's a short. And I tell people, it's either you can take it as a preview if you never read Think and Grow Rich. If you read Think and Grow Rich, this will just kind of update you. And women especially tell me they love the small books because they can carry it in their purse. And I signed 2 foreign contracts this morning to license it in. Let's see, one of them was in China, and the other one was in Romania, I believe it was. But people like the little books. That one's just out, and I haven't got any numbers on it, but I know it's going to do real well. And here's a book I did. I don't know where you know Jim Stovall. He's a blind guy. He's written 49 books. He and I did this one together. He donated his talents. It's all our money. It's the gift of giving. Oh. And it's living your legacy. What that means to me is we can do good to helping kids, help other people while we're still living. You know, people said he left a legacy. That means you left a bunch of money or something or other, and they disperse it out. Why can't you do it while you're alive? Help those youngsters go to school. So many of them are first generations, and we don't preach religion, but there's a verse in here from Proverbs that says, those that give freely will be made richer. Those that withhold what's due will suffer want. That means we're supposed to give back. We're put here to encourage and help each other. And that's not always the case, but a neat little book. We've got good comments on it. And I know you're familiar with Outwitting the Devil,
Yes.
bestseller for 10 years. Well, the original book, we left one chapter out because it was edited and had comments by Sharon Lecter. So we republished the book, put that one chapter in that was missing, and we left all the comments out. This is a book just out. It's a nice hardback, and it's original book without any editing. There's no endorsements on it. It's just the book, just like it was published. And if you come visit me sometime, I'll drag the old manuscript out and show you, or maybe get out the next. And this one is really a nice book. One of the nicest publications I've seen. The hardcover is got, you see, it's got his signature and everything on it. So it made a real nice book. And the book continues so well. I have licensed it in 47 foreign languages.
Wow.
So the sales are amazing on it, just like they were. And it's just done remarkably well.
Can you tell us about the first time you read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and the impact that it had in your life at that time?
Well, I didn't write it down on the wall or anything, but it was, I was reading in the books. I probably was about 20, because they were furnishing us material and I thought it was great. I'm making $1.15 an hour, but they were furnishing us material that we didn't have to pay for to study finance and so forth, or study what our job entails. And of course, really, I wasn't nothing but a glorified collector. They call you assistant manager, and you had a card with your name on it, and you had to wear a tie, and to go out and call on people that was behind with their bills, because we were talking about in 61, 62, not that many people in the rural area had phones in their home. And so my job was to go out there and see why they weren't paying. And I learned a few things. I learned to treat people nice. I would come up to you and I'd say, look like we got a problem. And you would say, it's me, can't pay my bills. I said, no, I'm on your side. See, I'm getting paid to come out here and see you and see if we can straighten the account out, because I got bosses to work from. And if I can't get my accounts, work something out, well, they're not going to keep me. So I got to go back with some good results. And I would have a suggestion. I would tell them, I said, listen, I said, I got some other calls to make, like I'm going to Clintwood and Clinchco and these other towns. I said, you think you could get out and get one of these payments, and I'll come back through here. And I said, if you can, we won't repossess your car or nothing. I said, I'll go back and tell them that you've got one payment, and that the other two that we'll work something out on getting them paid. Well, they seen I was trying to help them out. And I won't say it worked every time, but listen, I went to Rutgers. I went to Rutgers when I was in a banking business, and when I started the banking business, and they asked me, I went to Stonier Graduate School of Banking, and I did my thesis on organizations and the implementation of a collection department in a community bank, and I passed the first time. They proved of it when I sent them in writing. And they also, I had to sit through an oral interview for several hours with a panel of people to ask me questions about the material, see if I knew it, before they would give me my master's degree in graduate banking. So I learned to work with people. Most people think a collector is somebody who goes out there and kicks on the door and scares the devil out of people. Well, see, that might work one time, but then next time you go back, they see you coming, they'll hide. They won't answer the door. So I wanted to give the appearance that I was trying to help them out, which I really was. And see, most people didn't understand that. fear will only work a certain length of time. Then people build up resistance to it. They'll avoid you. And you didn't want to drive 30 or 40 miles to go see somebody and they won't let you in. What are you going to do if they don't answer the door? So you had to get them on. You had to get them on your side. And I was good at it. Okay, I was excellent at it. I mean, I got promoted at a very, very early age. I had people working for me twice as old as I was, and they called me Hot Shot because of the results I had. And I can remember the first office I had was Plainfield, Indiana, and I got promoted to a larger office, and it was CIT. They run a contest, and they send catalogs out, and they had suggestions. You got so many points for every FB you got on the books. That's former buyers, NC, new customers, and so forth. And of course, the tellers, they had 4 tellers across the front. There's a good size office. And they was the contact with the customers. I mean, in fact, we had a count card when they took their payment and recorded it. If they were eligible for more money, it had a red star on it. We reviewed the payments each day. If it got paid down to where their loan limit we could get money, we put a red star on it. So the tellers would know, just by looking at that card, that that person was eligible for more money. So if they did not solicit that person for more money, those other 3 tellers are going to hear them and hold them accountable. So when they run a contest, you could get vacuum cleaners as a catalog. You could get sporting goods, reeling rods, mixers, all these other nice goodies with so many points. They sent the thing out and they said, this is a recommendation. The manager can take 50% of the points, and then it was split down among the other people. So I told them to take a catalog home and pick out what they was going to get, because we're going to win this contest, okay? We're going to get a lot of stuff, goodies. And so they took them home. Next morning, we had a little staff meeting. I said, I figured it out. We're all in this together. Now, you've seen what your suggestion was, but we're not going to pay no attention to that. We're going to take the number of employees, divide that up into points, and we all going to get the same number of points. We're all in this together. Y'all not working for me. Y'all working with me. And I said, it's going to make all the difference in the world. So I believe, if I remember, of course, this is in the early 60s. I think it ran for 8 or 9 months. Our office, there was a division of about 12 or 13, 14 offices. We wanted every month but one. And so I was a young person, and so we went to a manager's meeting in Louisville, Kentucky. I don't remember how many people was there, but I know the president of the company was there. There was a few hundred, to say the least. And I'm sitting back there just to listen to see what the program is. I drove from Indianapolis to Louisville and got situated. And so he gets to talk a little bit. And he said, would Don Green come up on stage? Man, I'm telling you, I took speech in high school, but I wasn't no speaker. I didn't claim to be. But I could feel my heart jumping as I walked up there. And I don't remember what all I said, but he asked me, he said, Don, you won this contest up there. Could you tell the people how you and the people work for you did it? I said, real simple. I didn't do it. We did it. We divided up equal. I said, if we won, we all won together. And see, people don't understand it. Like setting a budget. If we're setting down a budget, you're responsible for this, that, and that. I can tell you what I expect out of you. And then quick as I leave, you say, that's what he thinks. He knows so much, let him do it. Go ahead. But I would ask you, what do you think you can do? And then you would set goals probably higher than what I would. See, you've bought into it. You're part of it. I'm not dictating to you. We're in this thing together. You know, I come out of the bank. I had a girl work for me 17 years of bank, worked 17 years for me here before she retired. And I've had both her granddaughter and her grandson still works for me today. And a man asked me, said, Don, does that Sturgill girl still work for you? I said, He said, she didn't work for you? I said, she never did work for me. She worked with me.
Right.
I don't know whether you understood that or not. I just try to send simple messages, to people. And it's funny. People are funny. They come up to me. I had a guy was in the bank. He's had his cell phone in his hand. He said, Don, I inherited a little bit of money. What would you recommend a person invest in? I could give him a whole list of stocks, and number I got, and told him, but I didn't. I would tell him that same thing I tell my brother. I tell you, the best money you'll ever invest in your life is the money you invest in yourself.
Right.
The second best investment you'll ever make is that you invest in your family and the employees. And I still mean that, because I might tell you Microsoft, and it made a whole lot of money, or Apple or Amazon. But I think you should educate yourself. Read Warren Buffett, read Bernard Baruch, Peter Lynch, these people that's been truly successful. But then you don't do exactly what they do. Is, according to your situation, are you old enough to where you got time to let this thing grow? If it's a new company, it's just getting started up. Or are you getting closer to retirement and you need the dividends off of it? So you're going to go with an established company. Because there's a lot of companies in the United States, like Dominion Energy, which covers Virginia utilities and all, they pay good dividends. They've been paying dividends for approximately 100 years. So if you need some extra income, that might be real good for it. But you need to figure that out for yourself rather than someone dictate to you. Because, and the reason being is we learn, even from mistakes. I said, we don't make mistakes, they're lessons. If we look at them as lessons learned, because if I told you a certain stock and you invested in it, it does good, you feel real good. But then if it doesn't, you got somebody to blame. And we don't want to enter in that. We want to be accountable for ourselves and make our own decisions. Because a stock that's good for one person may not be a good stock for somebody else. And that's extremely important. And that's what we want to do in teaching the material. In Think and Grow Rich, in the second chapter, there's a chapter on desire, and it's lists the steps to riches. And the first thing he says is, what do you want? And that's important. Once you figure out what we want, but the second one is, what do you plan on giving to entitle you to what you desire? Because he says, Thomas Jefferson said, saddest day in a person's life when they sit down and start figuring how I can get something for nothing. Mm. We have to plant a seed. If you want corn, you got to plant a seed or go pay money for it. It's an exchange. And that's important. Most people go through life and they have no idea. They want a lot of money. What is a lot of money? I had people visit me from Liberia, and I licensed them the course. And I try to help them out, and I furnish them a lot of books and so forth. But that per capita income is $500 some a year. So if a person over there had $1,000, that's a lot of money. That won't pay our electric bill in the States if you live in a good sized house for a year. So it's got to be specific as to what you want, something that's measurable, and something that's got a timeline. Another thing I think is extremely important is, and I've got into discussions with people. I know I give a speech at Chamber of Commerce, and this lady comes up to me as a school teacher. I'm talking about goals. She said, I have goals, but said, I just don't write them down. I said, it's what we call dreams.
Yeah.
When we write them down, they become a contract with ourselves. We write that thing down and they said, this is what I'm going to do. We've made a contract with ourselves, and we don't want to disappoint ourselves. And so we can put little signs up, pictures up, put it on a card and carry. I did my goals inside of a coat because I never took my coat off in the bank. And if I had a few moments, I might pull the thing out in the goals and say, gosh, I've said I was going to do this and I'm not done nothing. Or if I get one of them completed, I cross it off. And it was a constant reminder to me what I was looking on. Believe me, it works. Believe me, it works. So got to be careful what we want, or it'll come true. But that's extremely important. I had a guy that would call me a few times, and he said he don't keep what we saying. Write it down. Said he had a good memory. So I read a guidepost each morning about verse of the day, and there was one in there from a Hanneken or something. I don't want to pronounce it, but it said if you have a vision, write it down and make it plain. So next time he called me, I just told him what that verse was. I didn't tell him what it said. I just told him to look it up. And he sent me a message back. He said, well, I guess you won that argument. I mean, if it comes from a Bible, I'll believe it. So, but it's amazing, though. People have got these things they want. See, they're afraid to commit. They're afraid to commit. The lesson that I gave the students the first night was worth the price of the course. I told them the first night, now, when you go to your dorm, go to your room or home or where you're going, this was a night class because I was a bank president of a day. I said, look on your calendar for someday. See if you can find someday.
Yeah.
It's not on there. When we say someday I'm going to go on a diet, someday I'm going to do a budget, someday I'm going to start my book or whatever, that is the way we have lied to ourselves. We're lying to ourselves when we say someday, because someday's not there. We have to say, by July the 1, I will have a budget in place to follow, and it's extremely important because it's hard to remind us. It's hard to remind us, and it's not that difficult. Except people don't want to commit. They don't want to commit. They keep lying to themselves. And the most important conversation we will ever have with ourselves in our life is those we have with ourselves. Now, someone could tell you, you'll never get that job. And you could say to yourself, I'll show him. I am going to work till I get that job. But when you tell yourself, I thought about it, but there's not no use to pursue it, never come about, then we tend to believe ourselves. There's a book I used in class, which I've probably read a half a dozen times. It's by a guy named Shad, S-H-A-D, Helmstettler, H-E-L-M-S-T-T-L-E-R. It's called What Do You Say When You Talk to Yourself, which is auto-suggestion. The most important conversations we'll ever have in our life is the ones we have with ourselves, because we tend to believe ourselves. And we do that by repeating them, good or bad, And, there's a list of things. Never have no money at the end of the month. Nothing good happens to me, and go on and on and on. But we just need to flip that around, because young people, the psychologists or said they probably hear the word no a couple 100,000 times. So we have to do something or other to program ourselves to drive that out. And we do it by auto-suggestion. It's telling ourselves, instead of saying, I'm never going to do this, just tell ourselves, I can do this. I know I can do this. I can do this. And it's important. I used a lesson in Winston in 1954. There was a young medical student named Roger Bannister.
Yep.
He was the first one to run a mile less than 4 minutes. He had stood since 1892. Some Scottish guy had ran it 4 minutes and some seconds over. Everybody knew that you couldn't run it. Doctor said the heart wouldn't stand it. Nobody believed except Roger Bannister that he could run a mile in less than 4 minutes. You go on the internet and look, there have been several hundred people written because somebody else has done it. Even high school boys have run it. I haven't seen any record where women have run it yet, but the high school boys have won it in less than 4 minutes. Because as I ended the article, I said was what this thing proves is things are only impossible until somebody does it. Right. And that's important. That's important. And but we can accept that, but sometimes we should say why or why not. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, Napoleon Hill covered the flight for the Wright brothers. We have the newspaper article. It said a young cub reporter by the name of Napoleon Hill covered the flight. He said when he was standing there was an old farmer standing there with the planes hadn't take off. They were getting it ready and whatever. And the old farmer said, if God wanted man to fly, he would have given him the wings. That thing won't fly. And of course, that was pretty well accepted. But you know, if you read the biography of Michelangelo, he projected flights. He left notebooks and so forth. In fact, talk about reading. He's the one of a series of books, 4, at Walter Isaacson. It starts with Icasson again. He wrote the books on who he considered the 4 geniuses: Ben Franklin, Albert Einstein, Michelangelo, and Michelangelo, this was like 1490. Michelangelo, you talk about him, he was born illegitimate. Dad never claimed him. Very mostly educated by himself, so forth and so on. He painted a Sistine Chapel, and at the Last Supper, and he painted Mona Lisa, and then Madonna and Child. Probably at least 2 of the most famous paintings in the world. And but we don't remember him for all these things he did. He considered him one because he left all these notebooks and so forth on projecting flight and so forth and so on. And then the 4th one is on Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, and which is interesting. That's the 4 books, and he was the last one I read. But he talked about persistence, which we talk about. He said once you have an idea, you use persistence. You don't give up. You stick with it. See, most people try a few times, or Hill said, how many times does the average person try something and quit? The audience would holler 4, 5, 3, 2, 1. He said, no, I said the average. Average is less than 1 because most people have an idea and don't do nothing with it. You've heard people says, oh, I can't never make a decision. Oh, yes, you can. When you make a decision not to do something, you've made a decision not to do something else. So there is no such thing as, it's like laying in a bed. I can't decide where to get up or not. As long as you're laying there, you've decided not to get up. Right. So there's no such thing as long as we're alive. But he said the quality of persistence, it meant more to him than anything because he had the idea about our Apple that everybody's got, and he stuck with it, until he did it.
Wow, Don. So, listen, this is amazing. I wonder if you could. We're approaching the hour. I wonder if you could repeat one more time the title of the book, and when would it be available, and where can people find it? And of course, tell us a little bit more about where people can find more information about the foundation, the Napoleon Hill Foundation.
Of course, our website is naphill.org. That's NAPHILL.org. All of our books is on there, all of our audios on there, our course and so forth. It's NAPHILL.org. And it's got all of our books listed. This one I'm really, this one I've showed you, it's they're all on Amazon, but the book is going to be already promoted like crazy. I've done all these interviews and stuff on, and the publisher, G&D Media, is publishing. It's Napoleon Hill My Mentor by Don Green. I actually told some of these stories I'm telling you in that book. They hired me to write the book. I didn't do a book and then hunt for somebody to publish it. They hired me to write the book. They were going to call it A Coal Miner's Son, which is the first chapter, because my dad, right, coal miner, grew up during the Depression, with 7th grade education. And but the publicity, the marketing people wanted to change the title to Napoleon Hill My Mentor, because it's important that Napoleon Hill's name jump out, because he's been Googled, I think the last time I looked, about 60 million times. So if anybody goes in there on hunting something on the internet for Napoleon Hill, my book's gonna pop up. Right. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But the first chapter in it is A Coal Miner's Son, and talking about persistence and so forth. But it's also, I spent 2 days in studios. It's 5 hours and 20 minutes of audio, and of course it's also, that's with Audible, and it's also it's an ebook also. And I've already started licensing it in foreign countries. I don't have the book, but I have the PDF file. And so all we do is tell them about it, and we've started lasting into the foreign countries. And it will be in a lot of foreign countries in no time, because there's lots of people will be interested in what I've wrote and what I have to say.
Well, it's an amazing story, the story of your life and how it was affected by Napoleon Hill's work. So, Don, thank you so much for your time. This has been
Well,
it's been great to get to know you.
and if you need something to let me go, we're done. I don't know how long it'll last, but we've been selling 100 books or 20 books for $100. That's 20 books for $100, and we're paying the shipping in the U.S. And we've done it's more than 2,000 in the last 3 weeks. So it'll continue probably a few more weeks. It's $100 in the United States. It's 4 copies of Think and Grow Rich, which is worth pretty close to the $100. We pay the shipping, but then there's 16 other books from the Napoleon Hill Foundation, a mixture of books. They can look on that. They can look on our website and see the. We just wanted to get a lot of books in people's hands for give them the gifts. It'll be a hard time for them to get them now by Christmas with mail delivery. But hey, listen, if it don't come but a week after Christmas or whatever, it's still an absolute bargain, because they 4 hardcover Think and Grow Rich books in it. So maybe a little later on, maybe we do it. Maybe we do it again.
Thank you so much, Don. This has been amazing.
You're very welcome. And if you'll send me an email when I get I should have them by the end of the week. The book, My Mentor, Napoleon Hill, My Mentor. They were shipped last week. I don't know where they ship them, FedEx, Ground, or what, but I'll have a few boxes of them. Should by the end of the week. Today's Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay.
You send me an email straight to your address and said, hey, where's that book you promised me on the interview or something? I promise you, I'll keep my word, okay?
Okay, thank you so much. Good luck with everything.
Let me know. I help you. Okay.
Goodbye.
Okay. Thank you very much.